So will interest rates start coming down? Will prices start to level off? Will inventory start to come up? We're going to talk about all that plus affordability, days on the market, insurance, all that's coming up next. Stick around. Hey everyone, it's Matt here once again with the Matt Allen Real Estate Team. I hope you are having an awesome day today. Now, I'm going to warn you, there is a lot of information that I'm going to put forth here in this video today because we're talking about the real estate market in Central Florida. You may have to go back, rewind, and look at things again. Now, the good news is if you're not understanding it, I want you to put your email down below or send me a direct message and I will sign you up for our free, that's right, free newsletter that we put out twice a month. Gives all the information about what's happening in Central Florida, not only from a real estate standpoint, but also from restaurants, hotels, things that are happening throughout Central Florida. It's a great read and it comes out twice a month. So make sure you sign up for that. Without further delay, let's get into some of the things that I want to talk about today. Let's start with the biggest player in the game, interest rates. Now, interest rates, depending on what they do, are going to dictate how the real estate market shakes out for the rest of 2024. What I've read and what I've seen in the market is that interest rates will continue to drop throughout the year. We don't know how they're going to drop. I just ran a poll on Instagram yesterday, and everybody seems to think maybe summertime interest rates may drop below 6%. Now, a sidebar to that is if they do, buckle up because there's going to be a flood of buyers into the real estate market. I wholeheartedly believe that if those interest rates drop below 6%, hopefully they will, that's going to cause a huge charge to the market. And I think there's going to be a lot of buyers entering the market. I also think there's going to be some sellers that are on the sideline saying, I don't know if we're going to get this shot again. Let's get our home on the market. That is only going to help, you guessed it, increase the inventory on the market. So that's a great thing as well. So I'm excited to see what the interest rates are actually going to do for 2024 over the next, let's call it 3 to 6 months. So are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? Quite honestly, we're not in either. If you look at the data and you listen to some of the professionals out there and what I've seen, we're kind of in a neutral market. There's no real advantage to a buyer or seller yet. It really is going to depend on inventory, interest rates. The same thing we keep talking about has to play out here over the next 6 to 8 months. Right now, there hasn't been a lot of change in inventory. So the demand is still pretty high in some markets. Now, this is where things get a little strange, and I want to work this through with you. If you have a house that is probably below $500,000 and it is in move-in condition, the houses are moving extremely quickly. Now, if you're above $500,000, which is right around the median price, I think the median price right now is about $430,000. But if you're jumping above that, so if you've got a listing in the $750,000, $850,000 range, and it's move-in ready, it still will move, but it doesn't move nearly as fast as those that are down near that starter home price. New construction is still offering an extreme amount of incentives. So that tells me they are slow because once those incentives dry up, it means they're selling property and don't need to offer those. All right, so let me impart some more knowledge on you. If you look at days on the market, it has actually increased from a year ago by about 8%. Now, that's not a ton, but it is showing that houses are staying on the market on average a little longer than they were a year ago. So keep that in mind. Now, just to take it a step further, maybe even more confusing, let's look at sales price. Sales price in Central Florida has risen by 5% since the same time last year. So over a year span, our pricing has gone up 5%. Again, nothing dramatic. And that's typical in a real estate market, is for there be general appreciation each year. So that has happened with the days on market growing. All right, I want to talk about two outliers that most people don't talk about when they're discussing the real estate market here in Central Florida. And these two are pretty big and are becoming bigger by the month. The first is insurance. Insurance is becoming a huge problem in Central Florida, throughout Florida mostly, but mainly in Central Florida, because a lot of the major carriers are pulling out of the area. I have talked to at least a half dozen to probably a dozen of my clients that are calling me saying, yep, they're dropping my insurance this year. That's becoming a huge issue when someone's going to buy a house that somebody has just lost their insurance on, or has to replace it with something much more expensive. Again, most people look at their monthly payment. So they're looking at the principal, they're looking at the interest, they're looking at the taxes, they're looking at the insurance, PITI. So if your insurance is going up, your interest rate's going up, that's causing a little bit of a dilemma to the second big problem that's happening in the market, and that is affordability. Affordability is becoming huge in Central Florida because in order to get on the property ladder, you're spending $450,000 to $500,000 on a single family home. Condos and townhomes, yes, they're going to be a little less. They're probably in the lower fours, high fives, but the income that people are making here for the majority in Central Florida, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a Disney employee, are having a tough time getting on that property ladder when it starts at that, let's call it $400,000 to $500,000 range. And something's got to change there. A lot of people are just not even going towards the purchase route and relying on rental. And for the most part, and don't get mad at me, we are probably a little overvalued. And whenever you're overvalued, there tends to be a correction somewhere down the line. So just make sure you keep that in mind. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know how it's going to happen, whether it'll be gradual, whether it'll be a steep decline, but we are considered overvalued slightly. So with that comes some responsibility that, a correction may be in our future. Who knows? Let's hope not a major one. Now, I wanted to leave a little bit of good news towards the end of this video. And the good news is growth and increase in infrastructure is at the forefront of what is happening here in Central Florida. With the influx of so many people, our economy is fairly strong. So we are expanding. We're expanding. All you got to do is drive on I-4 to see the expansion going on in our infrastructures. We're seeing communities branching out, going in areas that we never thought there would be communities in. You just have to go down to Winter Garden and see all the growth down there, all the new restaurants and the new areas to hang out in downtown and the packing district, and all of these places where you're seeing huge expansion, modernization, and some really cool stuff happening here in Central Florida. So that is all good news. It's still why many people come from other states and other parts of the country to call Florida and Central Florida their home. I hope this was helpful. I know this was a lot of information. Again, I have a free newsletter. Just drop me a line and I'm happy to add you to that. It comes out twice a month. I won't hound you otherwise. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.